and welcome to Thursday's episode of our Mystic Road Trip. My name is Kim, and I am a spiritual wellness coach and Jungian mystic, and I like to use these tools like astrology and tarot and mindfulness to help women find their way back to their authentic selves, which is why I thought it was so important to talk about the heroine's journey. And if you've listened to the last couple of episodes, you'll know that I really talk about the heroine's journey on Thursday's episodes. And today's part, I really want to talk about shadow work. Now, shadow work is all about exploring the parts of yourself that you hide or you're afraid of. And these are things like your fears, your triggers, and unhealed patterns. On the heroine's journey, shadow work isn't just introspection. It's partially that, but it's more about reclaiming your power and freedom. And I, like I said, use astrology and tarot and other mystical tools as my roadmap to help me do that. So before we jump into doing a bunch of stuff, let's talk about our shadows. It's hard to talk about shadows, right? Shadows are like these traits or impulses, memories that you either deny or you repress. The thing is we've all been taught for so long that the shadows of our shadows are the bad, right? But they're not bad. They just are unintegrated parts of yourself. They need to be embraced. So for instance, like what is a shadow? So some common shadow things, right? Avoidance or projection of fear and insecurities, right? Overcompensation or perfectionism. Repeating family or societal patterns. These are all shadows. And some are darker than others or however you want to put it. But shadows are not bad. Shadows are not evil. Shadows are none of that. You have to look at them and see it clearly, and then by choosing to integrate them, you're going to find yourself being a much more whole person. You can't not accept part of yourself. So let's talk about astrology and shadow work, because this is where I like to do it, right? Astrology is kind of, you can find them, it mirrors your shadow. Certain chart placements can reveal hidden patterns. For instance, if we're looking at the sun sign, you might conditioned expression of identity. Like, I need to be this person because this is who people expect me to be, or society expects me to be. With your moon sign, it's more about like habits and patterns of protection and your emotions. And those may have been built up because of trauma or just any number of things. If we look at our rising sign, it's about your public persona, and it's really about you hiding your shadow elements. So for example, if I have a Scorpio moon, I might have a shadow around control, trust, intensity. Scorpios tend to be very intense. Gemini moon, shadows around maybe indecision, avoidance, and overthinking feelings could be a problem. I use astrology and tarot hand in hand when I'm doing these things. So, you may find that there's some stuff like that. So like the devil is shadow around attachment, temptation, fear. Also, like, I always find it there's kind of like, how do I put this? The devil can hide shadows of like sexual things that's taboo. That's the word I'm looking for. Sexual taboos. The moon might hide fears and illusions and suppressed emotions. If you can use both of those together, it can really create this roadmap for you to help work through your shadow integration. I use this myself. Like, it's sometimes hard, it's sometimes challenging, but the two work very well together. And then if you integrate mindfulness practices, you can integrate much, I won't say easier, smoother. Maybe that would be the right word. So how do you engage your shadow intentionally? The first thing you got to do is freaking notice the triggers, right? So many of us walk through and then we don't understand why certain things happen. I had a really bad depressive episode like a month ago, and the old Kim would have been like, oh, I don't understand, my brain is just messed up, whatever. The Kim, like from years and years ago, the Kim now was like, I have to figure out what triggered it, because if I address the trigger and I figure out how to work with that trigger and work through that trigger, then I can not wind up in bed for 7 days, right? And I can figure out ways to work through that trigger without going to the extremes. You have to understand those. You have to see what things make you get frustrated, what things make you feel uncomfortable, what things like cause intense emotions. And then you have to ask the question, like I did, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Which part of me am I avoiding? What was that trigger? And then you can utilize the tools like astrology and tarot to really help you integrate and reflect. Look at chart placements, look at draw cards linked to everything and see where it's going. And then you can journal or create. It really depends, and it might change. What I've noticed is, for me, is that journaling used to be my thing. Like, it used to really, really, really help me. I'm a writer, so it made sense. But lately, probably the past year, I've tried to journal and it just hasn't really worked for me, So I started writing poetry again, and that really helped. And then also, like, I started doing audio diaries as opposed to journaling. So that kind of made some difference. So just remember, I think why I'm bringing that up is because one thing that helped you in the past when you're working through your shadow work and all that may not be the thing that continually helps you. You have to be able to, if you go back to my Tuesday episode, you'll see what I say about rituals is they have to be flexible and they have to be alive. So they have to change with you and your needs as you go. So just remember that. And then in the end, the intention of working with your shadow is to integrate and release. You need to acknowledge the shadow. You need to sit with it. You need to talk to it. You need to reparent it, whatever term you want to use. And then you have to consciously choose new responses to those things. Shadow work is not only about integration and acceptance, but it's also about awareness. And I want you guys to listen very carefully. It is not, and I repeat, not about perfection. You are not trying to make yourself whole again. You are a whole person already. You are just acknowledging and integrating the parts of you that you were either taught wasn't supposed to be out and about, or B, you subconsciously did that yourself. This is what I'm saying. So it's not about trying to become perfect. It's about becoming authentic and true to yourself and integrating those parts that maybe have been neglected for a while. So integrating your shadow in respect to the heroine's journey is active, it's embodied, and it should be empowering. If you make it a consistent practice, you're going to find yourself having more inner strength, more clarifications when it comes to authenticity, and then you're going to be able to transform those fears and triggers into personal power, into being able to have control over who you are and what you want and everything. Astrology and tarot are going to guide you, right? They're going to help you see the origins, the patterns, and integrate instead of suppress, right? Because I think that's what happens a lot of times. I met people that are like, oh, I've done my shadow work. And I look at them and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Right? Like, no, I don't think you did. I think what you did was you saw your shadow, you talked with it, and then you're like, oh, back in that closet. Talking about the shadow, I just want you all to know the shadow isn't scary. Please, if you take nothing from this, take that. It's more of like this invitation. It's more of like you're trying to reclaim those hidden parts of yourself. Shadow work is equal to the next step on your heroine's journey. It's called transformation. You're going to spot those hidden patterns, and they're going to lead through integrating and really working through these things to insight and power and authenticity. The shadow is not your enemy. It's your guide. So I think, step into it, explore it, integrate it, and in the end, what's going to happen is you're going to find that you reclaim your power. And that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this really rang true for you, really struck something in you. If so, let me know, reach out. If you want to reach out and you want more of this stuff, make sure you follow me on social media, Instagram and TikTok, and reach out, please. Come over, see, I do daily insights and other stuff over there. So I just want you guys to know, I believe in you. I know you can do this. It may be hard sometimes, but that is what's going to make the victory and success of integrating your shadow so much more sweet. Stay blessed, everybody.